This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Beers in the Lot. Hey, let me take a second to point you to beersinthelot.com. That's where you can find out all the info about the podcast. You can also find our shop there, and most importantly, the link to our Discord. Join our growing hockey community. You can get there at beersinthelot.com/Discord. So for episode 209, Riggs and John and I talked about the good old days when we played hockey, and Riggs talked about the start of coaching season and talked about rawdogging an NHL career. So here we go. Let's crack the beers.
Aaron, what are you drinking this evening, sir?
The mountains are blue. Coors Light for me this week.
Dope.
Yep. How about you? What you got, John?
I have a delightful Cutwater vodka mule this evening.
Ooh, Cutwater.
So, yeah, having one of these.
I'll tell you a story about Cutwater in a Nats game in a minute.
Oh, there you go. I think I know where you're going with it. Riggs, what are you drinking this evening?
I have a Graffiti Highway from Trogs Independent Brewing in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
House beer.
The house beer, the new house beer. So one time, Brando and wife and my wife and I went to a Nats game, and Cutwaters at that point were relatively new to the market in the area. So we had a few Cutwaters, and we had to hang out in DC for a little bit because there was no driving home at that point. Cutwaters are dangerous.
That
So
good, huh?
Be careful, Jonathan.
Luckily, you are at your home.
Yeah, no driving for me.
You don't have
Throw
to worry about
caution to
getting
the
there.
wind.
Yeah. Caution. I've never heard that word in my life. I think that's
we were
part of
just
my
talking
problem.
about movies. We were just talking about how it's no time for caution with Interstellar.
Right.
Anyway. Movies. We just constantly talk about movies. That's all we talk about, right? Summer, there's no hockey. What did you say in Discord? Ask us the question.
Remember when we used to play hockey together?
Remember
that?
Oh man. That was
What?
It's like it was 20 years ago.
We used to have some times.
Oh man.
I almost that whole
Times
text
were
thread that we
fun.
were exchanging about. Remember when we used to play hockey together? It was almost like us talking about, prior cell phone usage.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have to message somebody or call their house phone and set up plans. And then just if you say we're arriving at 4, pray to God they're on time, because if they're late, you have no clue. You have no clue what the hell's going on. So
Remember when you needed to type an S in your text message and you had to press that 7 button 4
Yeah.
times?
I didn't mind the T9 texting. I felt like you
dude,
could just do that in your sleep.
the worst.
It
Absolute
sucked,
worst.
but people could just do it. Like you could just one
Yeah.
hand. It was like, num. You get to the point where you can numpad on a
Yeah.
keyboard, and you just
Yeah.
you don't even have to look at it. Like you don't have to look at the keyboard at all. People do exactly how to. I think that was a big problem where in schools, like kids would text in their backpack. They just put their hand in their backpack and they'd be texting.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
They
like in the
They could type.
that's like in The Departed when they're doing the sting
Yeah.
operation or whatever against the Chinese gang or whatever, and he's got his whatever his name is, Goodwill Hunting has his phone in his pocket, and he's texting Jack Nicholson
Yeah.
with one hand, not even looking at it.
Yeah. And that was like a flip phone too.
Yeah,
That wasn't even the
they were all
Nextel.
flip phones back when we
Yeah.
used to play hockey.
When we used to play hockey.
we
Yeah,
used
we
to play
used to
hockey
play.
together.
Yeah.
We used to play every week.
I'm telling you, it was like 20 years ago, man.
Yeah, everybody had the same ringtone.
I think it's funny. I heard this recently. It was like back in the day. We're all from the generation that was crazy about putting ringtones on our phones, but
You have to pay for 'em.
now, yeah, you had to buy them, and they were every song you can imagine. And now, not a single one of us wants our phone to make any noise at all.
If this thing makes a noise, I will drive to
I'll
the bridge and
smash
throw it
it.
in the river.
Right?
I cannot stand when it makes noise.
My, how far we've come.
It's so funny because like I was having this conversation with my wife like a little while ago because we were just somehow we got on the topic of like old phones or something like that, and I said, yeah, I used to have like, you know, my first was like a flip phone, then I had a Razor, and then I went to like I had a BlackBerry for a while, and then after that I went to an iPhone, and then she like essentially went on the same, you know, trajectory going to the iPhone. And we were just talking about how like you could, same like Aaron said, you paid like you had to pay like $1.35 or something crazy. If it was a really popular song, it was like it was like $2 for your ringtone. And I remember like some people, they would literally change them every week. And you're like, man, that's like $20 this month. That's insane. And then now, like kind of like you're saying, like, I don't want to hear my phone ring. And it's somebody whose phone Monday through Friday rings all the time. Like on the weekend, it's silent. I don't even want to hear my phone on the weekend. I'm like, nope, I'm good. I'm untethering for a while. But yeah, in terms of a ringtone, like I couldn't imagine having anything.
It wasn't on my Razor. It was a LG flippy thing. It was like teal colored. I mean, these phones were garbage, like trash. And I bought a Biggie song as the ringtone.
Nice.
Nice.
Hypnotize. Yeah, it was cool.
I remember in like 2004, I thought I was as cool as shit ever because I had a polyphonic ringtone when nobody else had polyphonic ringtones.
Right.
This is like before Razor and all the other shit. And I had the Beastie Boys, the intro to Girls. So I hate that song now because I would get that phone call. I would get a phone call like every night from my girlfriend at the time. And I hate that song now. I've heard the intro so many times that I don't need to hear this song anymore.
That needs to go on the Johnstown playlist.
Yeah, I actually had Laffy Taffy.
I mean, I'm not going to complain about it, but I'm certainly not going to be putting it on any of my playlists.
I had Laffy Taffy on my ringtone for like a long while, like an ungodly long amount of time. And I remember like my dad, like when he like called me the first time and he heard that, he like called twice because he's like, he's like, at first I thought I dialed the wrong number. And he goes, you're some jackass with like this song. He's like, what are you doing? Like somebody's going to call you. And I was like, Dad, who's going to call me? No one calls me. Like I'm 18 years old. I'm not running around with a nuclear football or anything. You know, like no one needs to get called to me. Yeah, that's what I told my dad. Like no one called me. And then my mom said the same thing. Like she did the same thing. Like I think for a month she was like, I had no clue I was calling Jonathan's phone. I just hear this rap song going off for like 10, 15 seconds.
The tunes that would play back. Yeah.
Like you call and it's actually like Laffy Taffy. It's D4L singing the song. It was, looking back on it, very churlish, but awesome at the time. What a time of innocence in the world. Like that was the rage, and that was the coolest thing. Like,
oh my gosh. Anyway, that's how long ago it was that we've played hockey together.
Yeah.
And there's there's no pickups on the horizon. There's nothing. Like, John, do you have any idea when our old fat ball guys league is supposed to start? Like, is there any indication that the league still exists?
Figure it out. You're a captain. Come on.
The league is in existence. It is a thing. I believe in the next, let's see. We'll be playing within the next 5 weeks. That's all I know.
What the fuck?
5 weeks?
Well, no.
5 weeks, so fuck. That's a long time.
I told you I'm
Sorry,
gonna go do a
eat.
local pickup at some point. I need to get my legs a little like skate
I'm
a
ready
little
to
bit.
run my own pickup as well. Like we have had nothing this summer. Like normally there's a couple. Normally it's not every single week. Like, you know, people go on vacation, people take breaks. Yeah, I get it. But normally we get a couple. Like,
Yeah.
man, there hasn't been anything so far. Which again, I get it. People are busy. Maybe that's on me for, you know, counting on someone else to organize something. Maybe I should take some initiative. Maybe, but
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, Aaron.
yeah. Right?
That's the idea. I like the initiative though. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, like, you know, maybe if a pickup invite doesn't come out this week, then maybe I'll send one out next week, sort of thing. Who knows?
No, you won't. Big talk.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, big talk here. Aaron has the training centra.
I got the training center.
centra.
And you're about to hook me up with some shooting tiles. I don't have anywhere I need to go except for I'll just get my rollerblades on and then it'll be fine. Right? It's the same thing as playing hockey.
Aaron, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to come over and train you like a Russian coach from like the 1960s and 70s.
Oh, I'm
going to have you out in the yard doing like calisthenics and stuff.
I have a book upstairs that is like the Russian hockey handbook.
Oh.
Is that it?
Yes.
The Soviet Road to Olympus. You literally have this book like on hand.
I was reading it the other day.
All right. That's what you took inspiration from seeing it on your desk and came up with a joke. All right, that's good. Yeah. I mean,
thanks.
That's good. I mean, you know, somebody who can train you and coach you, not a bad thing.
Oh man.
Segue
Aaron,
here.
You're
How
so
was
screwed.
one of the
I would
first
ruin you.
This was like your first packet, your first practice, right, Riggs?
Yes, first night on the ice tonight.
There we
It
go.
was okay. Yeah, it was all right. I'm not gonna yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. It was okay.
All right then.
we got some work to do. And it's, you know what? Yeah, so our first games are not this coming weekend, but the next weekend. So, you know,
you got a week to
we'll get there.
Shape up. Yeah.
We'll get there.
That's good though, right?
No,
Starting
it was
back
good.
up. Yep.
It was good. And yeah, I was having a good time. It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
Gotta enjoy this feelings of I'm enjoying myself while it lasts, right? It's the sort of thing that towards the end kind of like starts dragging.
I mean, I tell the joke, but you know, things are funny because they're true. Like I'll start counting the days once we turn the holidays.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's when I start. I'm like, okay, so January, that's like 4 weeks. So that's that many practices. And then February is
right.
that many practices. And depending on if, you know, we make playoffs or how far we go, then it's a little bit into March,
so on,
right? So, you know, that's some practices. So that's how I count it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet. It's still August.
It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
It puts you on the ice a lot though, right? Like besides OFBG and you normally play the house league.
Yeah,
like,
play
Attaboy, right?
Attaboy's once a week. OFBG when we're actually playing is once a week. And then we're on the ice twice a week. And then sometimes I'll get asked to help with the third night, which is like the skating and the skills and stuff.
Right.
So
you're on the ice. You're lacing up 4 or 5 times a week. That's that wears on you over time. I get it.
Yeah. It's just like right now I like it because I like the routine. I like getting back into the routine.
Yeah.
It actually helps me during the week, like get through weeks, right?
Sure. I get to look forward to this and then that.
Exactly, right? Yeah. There's always something coming up in a couple days. Right. But then, you know, you get past the holidays and it's like, oh my God, we got to go back tomorrow. Like, okay. It starts to, you know, it wears, but
yeah,
it's all good.
It's good though. Yeah.
But You know, the other thing too, like this year is, I've said it before, like this team is playing at a higher level. They're typically we play at like an A level. This team's going to play at a AA level. So there's a little bit more of a challenge there, which I really like. And I think it's going to be good for everybody. So like, even like I'm an assistant, like whatever, but like, we're all helping out and trying to come up with ways to help the kids. So it's going to be good. Like, it'll be good. I think we're going to surprise some teams too. So I'm excited. Like,
That's a good feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good shit. Time out for just a second while we hear about our sponsors. We'll be right back. Beers in the Lot and the Hockey Podcast Network is sponsored by BetterHelp. They say when you set a personal budget, you should always pay yourself first. The same goes for taking time for self-care. I mean, let's be honest. Is there anybody out there who is not always busy in 2024? I mean, who are these people and what's their secret? For the rest of us, though, we have to figure out how to fit in the things we need for ourselves and the things we want to do. Maybe it's time to set some self-care non-negotiables. And improving yourself and taking care of your mental health should definitely be one of them. Therapy isn't just for those who suffered trauma. With BetterHelp, you can learn many positive skills that will help you find your way to becoming the best version of yourself. So if you're considering therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's all online, so it's convenient and it's on your schedule. After a quick questionnaire, you'll get matched with a therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time. Never skip a therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN.
You know the beautiful thing about being a sports fan? There's only like 2 days the whole year without a game. 2! With so much happening and so much action, that makes just about every day game day at DraftKings Sportsbook. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. It really couldn't be any easier. And if you're new to DraftKings, you gotta check this out. New customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only at DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-78-97777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Deposit and eligible restrictions apply. See terms and responsible gaming resources at dkng.co/base.
Pure Hockey has the best hockey equipment, accessories, and apparel on the market to take your game to the next level. Maybe it's time to ditch that old stick and start the year with a fresh twig. Maybe it's time to refresh your NHL wardrobe for the race to the playoffs. Pure Hockey has it all. Whether it's training aids, the latest sticks and skates, or your favorite team's gear, get your hockey shopping done at Pure Hockey and use our affiliate link at beersinTheLot.com/Pure Hockey.
But that's hockey.
Yeah, right?
That's hockey. 1 hour and 20 minutes tonight before I came here.
Yeah, right?
There you go. That's the first time. Well, no, because I was on the ice last week, but yeah. But
the one member of the pod who's skating right now.
Well, tonight doesn't count, but yeah.
I know.
Mostly
you had skates on tonight.
A lot of standing and like moving pucks around and then passing pucks when needed and different things, but whatever.
It beats not being on the ice.
Yeah.
When you are not getting on the ice at all. That's for sure. Man, standing in one spot and passing a puck around sounds freaking great right about now.
Aaron, if you talk to some people we play with, that's all they do.
That's what they
game.
do. Yeah.
So like,
that's what I do every Sunday anyway.
That's what a lot of OFPG does anyway.
Yeah. Oh, how was the game? Oh, I moved within a 15 square foot radius and I just touched the puck a few times. They raw dogged a beer league game.
Yeah.
Like, 0 puck touches, 0 passes, 0 shots on goal.
Yeah.
They raw dogged a beer league game.
Raw dog the beer league game.
Yeah.
Never touch the puck.
Yeah, never touch a puck. Like,
never on goal for or goal against. Just completely boring hockey. Just like you're just there. Like,
or just say like my favorite raw dogged a beer league game. What do you mean? I didn't play defense playing defense. It would be like that.
Right, yeah.
I was a -7 on D.
Yeah. Oh, how'd you do? I was a +3. Oh, really? Yeah, we lost 5-0. It was great. Yeah.
No. The best story is Costo. And he's been on the show. He's been on the program.
Exactly.
Costo, his team in OFBG lost like it was like 10-1 or
yeah,
10,
it was really bad.
It's like 12 something or whatever. He was like, yeah, but I was a plus. Like, I was a +1. Like,
yeah.
Oh shit. That
made no sense.
That's why that stat. That's why that
That's
stat's
so
bullshit.
funny.
By the way.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Plus minus isn't a true tale of
It's bullshit.
No.
The
especially
NHL,
for the level we play with.
Right.
even like NHL teams don't even put a lot into it anymore. It's
No, they don't. Yeah,
It's not.
they don't. They track it, I think, because it's tracked, and I think like what is it? It's one of like 200 plus stats that's tracked a game, but it's not. It's not high up on value like it used to be.
It's an easy stat to track too. Like, were you on the ice? Okay.
Well, it's dumb, right?
Tick.
Because like if you're a defenseman and you're on like a marginal team, like you're on a wild card team, right?
Sure.
And you're like a top pair defenseman. So you're playing 20 plus
more
minutes 20 plus minutes a night against their best players, right?
Right.
Of course you're gonna be minus.
And your guys can't keep the puck.
Of course.
Or
of course you're gonna be
have
minus.
a hard time. Yeah.
Right. Of course you're gonna be minus. Like
And specifically like with defensive schemes or with the way that a team plays. If the coach is just telling your team to play defensive hockey, then your guys aren't scoring that much, and now and then you're going to get blown out, and now and then that means your plus minus is going to be the toilet.
Barry Trotz, Peter
Yeah,
Laviolette.
right?
Yeah.
Like, shit. That stat means nothing against or on a team like that.
Yeah.
Just like the teams that historically a couple of teams have, just let them go and just go shoot at everything. Just shoot out the lights and try and outscore the other team. Like you could be on a team that you win 7-6, but you could be on the good end or the bad end and not really have any impact on whether or not the goals are scored or not.
Do you guys remember not Jeff Schultz now, but Jeff Schultz that played for the Caps, number 55?
Yeah.
A bunch of us used to call him the Narnian Muppet because he looked like a character, like a Muppets character from like a fantasy film. And he was terrible. He would get walked all the time. Awful player. But he was on those like 20 like 09
high flying Caps teams.
09, 2010, 2011 where they were scoring all those goals. So he was like a plus, 40 or whatever. Right? Like
Jeez.
But he was awful, terrible. And like so some of my hockey Caps circle hated him. And then other Caps fans would be like, yeah, but it's plus minus.
But it's plus minus.
But it's plus minus. And we're like, watch him play. He can't skate. He can't make first pass. He can't move the puck up the ice. He's terrible. He gets walked all the time. he's a human turnover. Like
that is the thing about plus minus, is that it only takes a little bit with the eye test, and you know whether or not that stat is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't take long. The eye test is undefeated.
The
plus minus.
The arguments that I used to get in like comment sections and blogs were unreal about Jeff Schultz.
I believe it. It's so crazy how fan bases, like, I shouldn't say reasonable, but people in fan bases, you know, they glom onto one guy, irrationally decide this guy is good for our club, or vice versa, even like decide this guy is bad news for our club, and complain loud enough that the management makes decisions. Like, it's nuts. But I think of like Fleury and then other guys too, like other Penguins, maybe even like a Chris Bourque. Like, some people said he's no good. Other people are like, he's fucking great. You put him in the right situation, he is great. You put him in the wrong situation, he doesn't look so great. But that's everybody.
The right situation for him was the American
League. AHL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you would like, we've had this conversation before.
Yeah.
One of the best American Hockey League players ever.
Of all time.
Right.
Like, one of the best of ever. But at the NHL level, just, this doesn't, it's not,
just wasn't there.
It doesn't translate for him.
He's not an everyday NHL guy.
Yeah.
Right. He's somewhere between the fourth line and the AHL, like somewhere in between there.
Yeah. Well, and that's that like weird kind of like gray, you could even call it like upside down world of pro hockey. I think of like every sport. Like, you see it in golf, you see it in baseball, where like, at the highest level of minor or affiliate sports, these players are lighting the world on fire every night. But to get on the right situation at the pro level, maybe their own organization either doesn't have an avenue for it in that makeup, whether it's the coach, the system, etc., it doesn't jive, or two, it's just like they can't acclimate to the speed or think correct. Yeah, and it could be a confidence where, like, Chris Bourque, he just kind of unfortunately couldn't translate for him, and like you said, sick AHL player, but NHL level, like you just said, Aaron, and it makes 100% sense. Somewhere between the fourth line and the top AHL guys in the world,
right?
Like, he's in that bracket, which is nutty to think.
That's crazy to think that you can be just so good at the level right below the NHL, but you're on the fringe for the NHL still. It's like there's a spot you can be where you're not one, but you're better than the other. But it's a weird thing too, though, because there's some people that when you put them around people who are really good, so I don't know, maybe for Bourque it was maybe he kind of got in his own head playing with Sid or Malkin or whoever the fuck he was paired with, or nearby even. Like, sometimes it's like, oh, I'm by somebody who's really good, I need to really focus on being super good myself, and then that they over concentrate or whatever, overthink it, and they ruin it. And some people are just like that. So,
I think,
who knows?
I think with players like that, you have to be like, the skills one. Like, all the pros are skilled. They all have individual skill. They can all stick handle, they can all pass, they can all shoot, they can skate, they can do all that stuff. I think you have to be super smart to play with the generational talent.
Oh yeah.
You have to, and it's not that you have to know it already.
You have to be able to take it when it comes.
You have to be intelligent enough to like learn on the fly.
Yeah.
Like, because whether it's them like directly telling you, like Sid does that with players a lot, right? He's almost like a fourth or fifth coach on the bench at this point, because now all NHL teams have like 4 fucking coaches on the bench. But but like, so that's, you always see in the mic'd ups with him, it's they get back.
Next time that happens, do this.
They
and
get
then
back
I'll
to the
do
bench.
this.
It's like, hey, you see how that guy, you see how like that defenseman 44, he like tends to do this. He picks out the habits, and he's like, when he does that, you go do this, right? And it's like those conversations. I think if you're a smart enough player to be able to like take that in and turn it into whatever you need it to be to like go and execute, like those are the players that do well with Sid Crosby and Malkin
Right.
and McDavid and like those
Sure.
type of players, right? So
I'm not in any way trying to equate this to equate OFPG play to the NHL. But man, I love it when a player tells me next time this happens, do that. And then I go out. I guarantee you that this happens. This happens with Sid all the time. He'll tell somebody to go do something. They do it and it scores a goal. I guarantee you that happens just a billion times. And I love when that happens. That's like the coolest fucking thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it's happened for me a bunch. Like guys who I know really know the game, they'll say, next time this happens, do that. And I do, and it feels like it's happened like, I don't know, 20 times over the course of me playing for 20 years. Like it turns into goals. Like I'll score a goal or they'll bank a goal off me like the next time that it happens. Like it's nuts. Crazy. But I bet you it's even more pronounced for Sid. And like you said, that's why there's guys like, I remember when Kunitz came on the Penguins and I was like, what a weird pick. Like it's a weird trade, and then they slotted, and I'm like, why are they slotting him with Sid? It doesn't seem right. And same thing with like, they moved Dupuis up to his line. And I was like, okay, this is weird, but man, those guys, they're the ones that play the best with him because,
right,
like you said, they can adapt to the way he plays or the things that he points out to them as like, we need to exploit this. We need to do this. And then they can do it and execute.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they can watch him go out there and do some crazy shit that no one's ever done before. And then go out the next shift without getting starstruck, because I guarantee you that happens to people. I'm sure that happens to people.
Like on any other team, like those two were probably bottom 6 players.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. That's where we came from.
Right. They were bottom 6 players on any other team. And really, like when Sid was out, right? Because even when they were there with him, he missed a lot of time. And when they were out, like those two, like they didn't produce. And people were always going to turn and say like, oh, well, that's because Sid wasn't there and he's just, he's making them look good. Well, that's partly true in that they need to play with him because of the way that they work together.
Well.
Because right, it's just the way that they work together, right? And that takes, going back to like coaching and stuff like that takes a certain eye, right? To figure that out. And that is hard. That to me, that is the most difficult thing that like a coaching staff is doing, is putting all the names up on a board and like trying to figure out like
you with you. Yeah.
Right. And this is going to work. That's going to work. And how, like evaluating that in practices and games and figuring out like what those combos need to look like. I mean, a lot, like in some cases it's probably super easy, right? Like there's certain players that just need to go together. But I think like with players, like that's a great example, like Kunitz and Duper, like, they went out and got those guys, right? And almost immediately put them with Crosby. So they already knew. They already knew.
Kunitz came the following year. Duper was a throw-in in the Hossa deal.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep, the Thrasher deal. And then Following year, they went out and got Billy G, and they got Kunitz for Ryan Whitney, which at the time everyone was so upset because they're like, we're trading away like our power play specialists and stuff.
Yeah.
But the Penguins must have saw something there because, I mean, he goes on to joke about it, but we also know the career that the two of them had after that point in time. Much different, obviously, but kind of what you were saying, Eric, it's like tough how you kind of gauge who's going to play with who, but then also too, like, it's an 82 game season. Who gets banged up? Who gets hurt?
Well,
Who's
everybody's going to
and,
play, right?
Exactly.
You end up getting a shot.
But then think of like ebbs and flows. Who's going this game? Who's not going this game? What happens? You know, who has the hot hand at the moment? Who also too, like maybe they're dealing, and this is what also like you never hear about, like who's dealing with some stuff at home. So we're going to move you a little bit. You need a confidence boost. So technically we kind of don't want to move you up from the fourth because you're slotted, but you know, like, and then power play and penalty kill time and shootout position and all that fun stuff. Like that's a coaching staff's like, and I think a general manager and organization, like that's a nightmare because then when you get injuries, you got to worry about guys from your AHL, the Chris Borks of the world that you're promoting or the younger guys. Like how does it impact
and
something?
then it's contract status, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's been up and down so many times and like all that's like it's
and the other thing you think about in today's day and age, because obviously with the salary cap, like your younger players and your entry level contracts are much more better long term for a team because you got A, more control, and B, it's cheaper. So how does a team react, like in terms of just the mojo and the kind of inner workings when there's a kid in the AHL who's been busting his ass, you know, who they signed and he's having a great season, you know, leading the team in a lot of the great metrics. And then, oh, well, we have this kid who was our first overall draft pick last year. His NCAA season just finished.
Right.
And he did really well this year too. And you only have one like left-handed defenseman. Like how do you make those decisions? Then it becomes like, well, we want to give, you know, Aaron this position because Aaron just had a stellar AHL campaign and they're not going to make the playoffs. But then, you know, Eric, well, you know, his team didn't make the dance. They got kicked out of the first round. So they don't, you know, how do you even juggle that? Like, I can only imagine. And then add the other layer, which is funny. You have the agents for both players calling you constantly. Like,
it's nuts.
Yeah. Hey, dude, did you see that game the other night in Portland? He's a stud. He's a killer. Like, I can only imagine the stuff that those agents are saying. And then I'm not saying
they decide
like,
to go
they work
with,
very hard.
They decide to go with one or the other, and sometimes they go out and they raw dog an NHL career.
Right.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Never touch the puck.
Yeah, exactly. Or two, we think about like what are the ramifications? That kid's at the near the end of his AHL deal. He's like, I want NHL time. He doesn't get it. You bring this kid on an ELC in from NCAA. I'm not going to sign with you next year. And then you go somewhere else and raw dog an NHL career at another organization, like Aaron's saying. So yeah.
All right. Well, you made it to the outro. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We always enjoy making them. And if you did enjoy it, please give us a subscribe, a like, a follow, a rating, a review. Any engagement at all helps us out if you got a second for it. But either way, we appreciate your listen and we hope you'll join us again next week. Our new episodes drop on Wednesday. So until then, we'll see you.